It was set at 4%, yes.
Okay. But we didn't meet the publication deadlines?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, so what do we have to do to correct that?
Good question. On the handout. On the handout. And if you'll see the KRS is referenced there, and for Gary's benefit, I'll go ahead and read that. For rates that exceed the compensating rate, which is that 4% or any above, the hearing requirements of the KRS state, and this is an excerpt, the public hearing which shall be held not less than 7 days nor more than 10 days after the day that the second advisement is published. Now the steps that were taken, we met on September the 10th, set the tax rate at 4%, which was at a 60.2%. That's what it brought it up to. The projected publications from that meeting was September the 18th and then September the 25th. However, the hearing, and which we're fine so far, but the hearing cannot occur prior to that 7 days. It's got to occur between the 7th and 10th day. The earliest we could have held that hearing and ratification of those tax rates, or the proposed tax rate, was October the 1st, which exceeded the 45-day mandate. What do we have to do?
Yeah, what do we have to do? Yeah.
What we have to do, it follows on this sheet, and it includes a recall, because the tax rate would have to be set at above the 4%. And my recommendation, after speaking, Tammy and I have discussed this for the last several days. We have been on the phone with Che Ritter at KDE and also Kay Kennedy and some other folks. In order to navigate through this, here's what we have to do. First of all, we got to understand what the recall requirements are if you go above 4%. That 4% that the boards can take, it's not recallable. And that's what the board had made the motion on. However, now we're faced with the 45-day window. And in order to get around that, not around it, but in order to navigate through that, for that 4%, it's got to be set above the 4%, which would put it at 4. My recommendation is 4.1, which would bring the total to a 60.3. So
okay, but then that would be subject to recall.
Yes, sir. I'm going to read the recall requirements. For rates subject to recall, which this will be,
yeah,
an additional advertisement must be made within 7 days of the hearing as required. And once the 45 days have passed, since the rate was levied, which we will do tonight, or recommended, the district must send a notification of whether a valid petition was presented. If a valid petition was presented, the district must indicate whether they intend to place the issue before the voters for approval.
Yeah.
The steps that we need to take, for one, would be to motion on the 4.1%, which we need to emphasize that it is a 60.3%, which the tax rate would be set at. It's actually an increase of 4.1%. So tonight, the steps would be, September 26th, the board will propose to adopt a rate which exceeds 4%. And as we discussed, 4% rate is 59.2, and the exonerations of 1.0 are included. The rate the board proposes will need to be above the 60.2. So the motion tonight, under recommendation or consideration, is a motion to approve a 4.1 tax rate resulting in a 60.3 proposed tax rate. Then on Wednesday, October the 2nd, first advertisement with the total rate would be publicized. The following for the second publication required would be on October the 9th. Following Wednesday or the following publication, there would be a hearing or board meeting for an open meeting for anyone coming to the hearing. The board would then adopt and finalize the rate. At that point, from October the 16th, a 45-day window begins. However, the following week, on the 23rd, a third advertisement, as we talked about the KRS just a moment ago, third advertisement will explain the total rate, a portion that is recallable, with instructions to contact the county clerk for petition information, and the third advertisement there will be a sample that would be located on that publication. If no petition is presented or found valid by the clerk, the process is over. That means if there's no petition, then it will remain at 60.3%.
Okay, if there is.
If a petition is found.
If there were to be, would it go back to 62? Would it go back to 60? Would it go back to 4%, or would it go back to the compensating rate?
It goes back to the 4%. Good question. The next item on that sheet, the last one, if the petition is found valid by the clerk, within 15 days of validation, the board may cause cancellation of the election by reconsidering the motion and amending the motion to levy the tax rate, which will produce no more than 4%.
Okay, so we can go back to 4% okay. Okay, I understand that. So because the people will have a right to, if you get enough
the petition
to
yes.
contest it, I mean, they can hold a special election to recall it.
But the only portion that is recallable is the 0.1.
It's a 0.1. Okay, well that's good, yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah, the next time, if we ever do this again in the future, make sure we meet, because I mean, this has all of the markings of a tax increase, and folks get mad over things like that. Even though it's 0.1, a 0.1 cent or whatever.
Yes, sir. Well, let me ask you, there's two things that I want to address. The first one being is the release of the tax rates. We're working on that communication piece.
Okay.
And this was an old law on the books that is just now being enforced. It's been on the books, it's KRS. It has never been enforced. We've never seen that here in our district. And it's happening across the state, the range, the same kind of problems that we're having.
If you look on the KSBA feed that the board is now on, you'll see that boards this week have passed their tax rates.
Yeah.
So and all 173 districts get their tax rates on the same day, August the 7th. So what they're doing, I don't know, but they're under the same requirements and criteria that we are. But I'm not concerned about other counties. I'm concerned about Martin County.
Okay.
And we need to do it right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree with that.
Can we clarify that we changed the rate to 60.2? Is that what we did in our prior?
Well, you've already done that.
Yes.
60.2 with 4%.
What we're proposing is taking it to 60.2.
Yes, sir. That needs to be, that was emphasized to make sure that was clearly indicated on the board minutes. If you'll look under steps there, that was the motion to approve.
Simply to meet the KRS regulations.
Right. Well, before exonerations, add this one in.
Just sent to us. And actually, you wouldn't have time. You wouldn't have time to discuss it. Make a decision. Do you think about it?
What can we do next year to avoid this same problem? Do it earlier, or?
I think I'll plead the fifth on that, Gary.
I'm sorry.
I think I'll plead the fifth on that.
Hey, I didn't know. I did that.
I'm kidding. Listen, there was some, KDE relies on their, just as we do, heavily upon the technology and their email.
Uh-huh.
And if the addresses are not correct on those emails, then it can, mail can go to the wrong address.
Okay. Well, just saying, you know, it'd been a lot easier, it'd been a lot less painful, I guess, just to pass the 4%, be done with it. You know what I mean? Not.
Yes, sir, but the law doesn't allow that now, and this is the way to get to that.
Okay.
And this has been, may I say, it's been confirmed by Jay Ritter at Kentucky Department of Education. It's nothing that I or Tammy and I or anyone else sit down and see.
Anybody gets wrong?
It's
Yeah.
not a scheme.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's a means of correcting.
Yes, it is. The legal ways of correcting this. What other districts are doing, I don't know.
It's what? How you say legal? What now?
It's a legal means to correct.
Okay, the legal means you're correct. Okay.
Okay.
I'm still
Board,
not
any questions or
understanding.
discussion?
I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding. Hold on. Now, why are we doing that?
At the last meeting, we raised it to 60.2.
And what was wrong with that?
We did a 4% increase, but we had to do it on a certain timeline. We had to meet a certain timeline for notice, and so forth, which we didn't quite make. That's the only way to correct it.
Only to correct. Yeah, you can't go 4%. You've got to go at 4.1% to. Then it becomes it's a legitimate tax increase, right? I mean, it's a legitimate tax increase that people have a right to contest. If they want to contest this tax increase, all they have to do is, I think if I'm correct, you have a certain number of people who decide. I think it's a percentage of the registered voters. I think something like 10%. They can petition to have this. Okay, correct me, Mr. Meadows, if I'm wrong, or Mr. Schmidt, if he's there. If 10% of the voters decide that, hey, we don't want this, then they can petition the county clerk to actually have an election.
Right.
And then you can have election, and you can recall. You can have the tax increase done away with.